Hello, church. Talking to people over these last few weeks, there seems to be a common theme going on where people feel forgotten, left out, forgotten by God. It's like I've heard the expression, have I fallen off his radar? Has he forgotten me? No, he hasn't. But here's some scriptures that might scare you. Genesis 8:1. God remembered Noah. Genesis 19:29. God remembered Abraham. Genesis 30:22. God remembered Rachel. Did he forget them? And then suddenly, oh no, where are they? No, it's not that. Stay with me. See, God remembered Rachel. She was barren, and he gave her a son called Joseph. Now, Joseph was, read the stories, it's from Genesis 30, read right the way through, honestly, fantastic stories. Joseph, at one point, it seemed like everybody had forgotten him. His family thought him dead. He was sold as a slave. He ends up a slave in prison. So there he is in the deepest depths of prison, probably despairing, thinking I have no future. What's happened? Am I forgotten? Even, this is Genesis 40:23, the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. And that seemed to be a hope, a glimmer of hope that Joseph had to get out of prison. But this man forgot him, didn't mention him. Then another 2 years passed. 2 years, a further 2 years in prison. Must have seen another lifetime to Joseph. But God was at work behind the scenes, in the cupbearer, in Joseph, and in Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt. God was about a great work behind the scenes. Joseph was not forgotten at all. Here's some Psalms. Psalm 78:39. God remembered that they were but flesh, a passing breeze that does not return. Psalm 106:44-46. God took note of their distress when he heard their cry, and for their sake, out of his great love, he remembered his covenant. Now, God doesn't forget, but what he does, he brings to mind. He acts because of what he'd already promised. So the remembering is more of a completion, or God looking at himself. So when God saw their distress, actually there was judgment going on with Israel. But out of his great love, he remembered his covenant. So he was for them, even though they were against him at that time. He's remembering, he's bringing to mind, he's acting to his own person. He remembers, he brings it to mind, and he acts. So it's the completion. It's like entering into God's rest, a different season. Jesus said of us then, if you think you're forgotten, you're not. Luke 12:6-7, Jesus said, are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs on your head are numbered. Don't be afraid. You're worth so much more than many sparrows. So if you're waiting for God's promises, if you're in a season where you think nothing's happening, I'm stuck, it's so hard, it seems contrary to what God promised. I'm living in the contradiction. So did Joseph. So did King David. So did many. Now, Romans 8:28 says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. So in these times of waiting, in these times of what's going on, it's good to pray back God's promises, to pray them back to him. Remember, Lord, you said, remember, I'm sure Joseph, in all those years in prison, said, Lord, it's because of your gifting in my life that I've ended up where I am. And it was the gift. It was the gifting that got Joseph out of prison. When he operated in the gifting, even though it was forgotten for 2 years, the cupbearer remembered him to Pharaoh, and it was his gifting, his anointing, the gift of God in his life that got him from the prison to the palace in God's perfect timing. So come on, people. Be faithful. Stay in the faith. God is not slow in keeping his promises as we perceive slowness. So in our perception, it does seem that God can be slow, but he's working outside as well as inside. He's working in the individual and he's working in the nation to bring about his promises in you and over you. Our confidence is this, as Paul said, that he who began this great work is the one who brings it to completion. Keep your confidence and faith in God's ability over your life. It's not about performance. He is faithful and remembers his covenant to you. So be blessed, people of God, and keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the perfecter of our faith. Bye for now.